Hello, Econ students. Happy AFC Championship Sunday. Go Kansas City Chiefs. So, hope everyone's doing well and hope everybody had a good weekend. Hopefully, those Chiefs can get a win this afternoon. So, it's January 30th, 2022, and the past week saw some promising signs with the stock market coming back a little bit. Been a little bit of a rough year so far, but a lot of variables going on, as you all have mentioned in your forum discussions right now. And I was able to reach out to everybody this week, so hopefully I'll be able to do that again this week. We'll see, but if not, I'll split it half and half in our last 2 weeks of the forum discussion. So we are quickly approaching the end of the course. So just a reminder, continue to work on that common assessment. And if you have any questions, do let me know. I'll talk about it a little bit more detail next week as a reminder. But other than that, just keep jumping in and keep up with my econ lab. So with this week, we're going to start looking at the market structures. So specifically, you're going to look at monopolistic competition and oligopoly. Next week, we'll look at monopoly. But if you get a chance, I'd also encourage you to read the chapter in 12 relative to perfect competition. It's the most simplest market structure. It has certain assumptions about being a price taker. There's so many individuals in the market. It's unique that the market demand curve and marginal revenue are both, they're both horizontal. So they still make the decision where the marginal revenue equals the marginal cost where to produce. And we'll also see that with monopolistic competition and monopoly. When you read about those, the exception is oligopoly, when they make interdependent decisions. What is the other firm doing? So it's not always based on that marginal revenue, marginal cost rule. But with monopolistic competition, that's going to be the most prevalent market structure you're going to see out there. I always like to think of it as like a fast food restaurant. So they basically offer the French fries, the cheeseburger, and the soft drink. And they spend a lot of money on advertising to try to convince you that their product is better. And they're also going to slightly differentiate their product. Whether they flame broil the burger, with they microwave it, whether they cook it on the grill, how they do their French fries. They try to make themselves different, but it's the same in the sense that cheeseburger, Coke, French fries, or Pepsi, whatever it is. We could use chocolate shakes in honor of Andy Reid. He loves chocolate right now, so it's kind of saying we got one more. But in terms of monopolistic competition, um, they're going to have a lot of firms out there, and they're going to be competing fiercely with each other to try to show you the differences or convince you that there are differences. So, and they're going to spend a lot of money on advertising. So, but with that, they're still going to make the same decision: where does marginal revenue equal marginal cost? And what we need to do now is we need to apply everything that we've learned, applying all those cost curves. That's what they're going to do in the chapter. Or you have the average total cost curve, the average variable cost curve, the marginal cost curve. And the marginal revenue curve is going to be derived from that downward sloping demand curve. So we're going to find the point where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. That's the point we're going to produce, but we got to go up to that demand curve, and that's the price that we're going to set in the market. And what I want you to understand, there's going to be 4 different scenarios, the price relative to that average total cost. So if the price is above average total cost, you're making an economic profit. And that's a great thing, because now you're above and beyond your opportunity cost. If McDonald's is expecting 10% and they're getting 20% and they're doing quite well right now, that's a good thing. Now, if they're making above, the price is above average total cost, you would expect other competitors to move into the market and try to eat away at some of those until we get back to a point where the price is exactly equal to average total cost. If the price is exactly equal at average total cost, they're just earning a normal profit. We like to call it zero economic profit in economics. It doesn't mean they're not making a profit at all. It means they're exactly covering all their explicit and implicit cost. And that's a good thing. If they're required to make a 10% return, I want you to think within that average total cost curve, that is their opportunity cost. If we're at a point where the price is below average total cost, but above average variable cost, that firm is going to continue to produce in the short run, because we have to remember the distance between those two curves was the average fixed cost. So you want to make sure to cover at least some of the fixed cost. And then the last and final point is if the price is exactly equal to the average variable cost or below, that's what we call the shutdown point. And for firms, we hope this doesn't happen, but for a lot of new restaurants or mom and pop restaurants, and even those that are franchise restaurants, if you're below this, this is where we shut down. And for a firm, I want to point out this doesn't necessarily mean that the entire firm shuts down all the time. It might mean that there's a particular product that they're doing, or there's something they're trying at McDonald's that just wasn't profitable. They're going to shut that down. If you think about some of the things McDonald's have tried in the past, I think there was a type of sandwich where they had the hot side and the cold side, or they used to have the bagel McSteak thing, which I absolutely loved, but they got rid of it, you know. So, but once in a while, you'll see the McRib come back, or you'll see seasonal items like the in March we should start seeing our green shakes again. So, but they have to be very strategic about this. So, but again, it's a market structure. There's a lot of competition. They're not going to be at a minimum point of the cost curves. But they're monopolistic in the sense that they try to distinguish themselves, but they're very close to competition that it's very the same. Okay, last is going to be with the oligopoly. So I said this is a little bit different. They don't always make the decision where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. You're first going to study about competition within markets. And oligopoly means there's just a few firms that typically exist in a market. There's possible to have a duopoly where you only have like two firms, maybe like Boeing and Airbus. But with this and the interdependent decisions, and with their product themselves, the product, let's talk about the product. The product can be somewhat homogeneous, it's very similar, or it could be very differentiated. But typically, there are barriers to entry in this market. One of them probably just being the sheer size. In order to be, you know, you think about Boeing and Airbus, the capital costs involved are so huge. It's difficult for anyone just to start up a business. If you want to start up a restaurant, it's fairly easy. You could jump in, get some capital, get some friends and partners, and get one started, and see if it works. Okay. But with oligopoly, there's going to be barriers to entry. Sometimes there can even be a cartel. We think of our OPEC. You know, it doesn't have as much power as it used to. But in the United States, which we'll discuss later in the course, is that if we see that competition is not fair, or if it's becoming where there's potential cooperation among the few firms, that's where we usually see the Justice Department come in. But you're going to study such things as like a 4-firm concentration ratio. You think about like Quaker, Post, Kellogg's, General Mills, they probably control 80% of the cereal industry. And the government's okay with them doing that because, you know, there's still competition. But you think about all the different restaurants that are out there. There's thousands and thousands of them, so it's less concentrated. But in terms of making decisions, getting back to that, you're going to read a little bit about game theory, Nash equilibriums, finding them. There's one good example with Spotify and Apple, whether you should offer a college student a discount. And that's actually on page 467 of your textbooks. But the way you want to read these payoff matrix is that you kind of say, hey, what if Apple doesn't offer? Keep that fixed. And you look at Spotify, and you say, should I don't offer, which I get 7 million, or offer, Spotify gets 9 million? Well, you'd rather have 9 million, so you put a little S in that cell, okay? And then, again, you kind of repeat that. What if they offer? Well, if I'm Spotify, do I want 4 million or 5 million? I'd rather have 5 million. So I'm going to put a little S in that cell, the lower right-hand corner. And then we would repeat that process the other way too. If I'm Apple and Spotify doesn't offer, would I rather have 7 million or 8 million? Well, I would rather have 8 million, so put an A there. And if Spotify does offer, would I rather have 4 million or 5 million? Well, I'd rather have 5 million, so I put an A there. Well, you'll notice the lower right-hand corner cell has both an A and an S, and that's what we call a Nash equilibrium. So help you find a Nash equilibrium is the two cells that have that same letters. And in that situation, they both had a dominant strategy to offer. You're also going to read about decision trees, whether, say, there's a new product, or whether to enter a market or try to deter someone from entering a market. They can kind of see, you know, at different prices, would that deter the entrant, or would they be better off just lowering the price or keeping the higher price? So you look at different potential games, if you will, to play out and see what are the likely payoffs. Nothing's guaranteed, but, you know, large corporations, firms do make decisions, or if you're want to open up that restaurant someday, you're going to think about, what other competition is out there? Who's similar to this? We're going to really be able to produce something that's better. So you're going to have to knock some other restaurant off in the town because there's only so many customers. You got to make sure. It's a lot of times like what we call you kind of do studies, feasibility studies, but a lot of times sole proprietors don't always do that. That's something you need to think through when you're entering any market. Okay, well that's it for this week. So again, if you do have any questions, do email me. But otherwise, have a great week, and again, hopefully those Chiefs will get a win this afternoon. You guys take care. We'll talk to you online.